Goodness, I'm struggling this morning. So, Jesus is speaking here of his betrayal, and sometimes we want to too quickly sort of jump to, oh, well, see, we all betray Jesus because Judas and Peter betrayed Jesus. Judas by handing him over to the guards, and Peter by denying him. But it's clear here, Jesus is specifically talking about Judas. It is true that Peter denies him. It is true that that's betrayal. It is true that that pierces Peter to the heart. It is true that it makes of him a liar and a coward because he says, I'll go to prison with you and I'll die for you. But that's not the betrayal that Jesus is alluding to. It's not the betrayal of which Jesus says it's better for that man had he never been born, right? What we see here, too, is a group of sinners, like we all are, who are sitting at this Last Supper, the first Eucharist, and they're all receiving Holy Communion. Right? Of Judas, at his reception of Holy Communion, it says, Satan entered him. Right? Father Tim and I often talk, though perhaps not regularly enough, about the need to be adequately and properly prepared to receive Holy Communion. Right? The three requisites for receiving communion worthily, or to be able to receive communion, as articulated by St. Paul and Justin the Martyr and many others, is to be baptized, is to believe all that the Church teaches, and to live according to the apostolic lifestyle, right? Which is to say, to live according to the moral norms of Christianity, not to be living a life outside of those. That doesn't mean I don't sin from time to time. What it means is my lifestyle is in accord with Christianity. So that being said, what we're left with here then is, okay, the final thing I have to consider is how am I personally disposed to receive Holy Communion? And Judas intended to betray the Lord. He had a sin on his conscience already. He had treachery and ill will. Perhaps not malice, because I don't think Judas hated Jesus. I think he actually loved him in a twisted way. He loved Jesus as a tool or a utility to get what Judas wanted, which was self-love. I want what I want, and I'm going to use Jesus to get it. I want Israel to be liberated. I want Jerusalem to be free and the capital of a glorious, Jewish caliphate or whatever. So I'm gonna prompt Jesus. I'm gonna push him to do his thing, and I'm gonna light the fuse by getting Jesus arrested. Perhaps. I mean, that's a lot of assumption in terms of, or a lot of guessing in terms of what Judas's intentions were. But we certainly do know that Judas had this grave sin of treachery on his heart when he received the Eucharist, when he received the Lord's body and blood. And though Peter was clearly going to fail, Jesus knew this. It is only into Judas that when he received Holy Communion unworthily, that Satan entered him. Right? Judas died. He went and committed suicide later, but Judas died when he received Holy Communion. He was enslaved. His physical death meant very little, right, compared to the slavery and the eternal death that occurred to Judas upon his unworthy reception of Holy Communion. Right? I think those words need to sink deeply into us as we consider our own the way that we relate to the Eucharist. Am I too familiar with the Eucharist? Am I presumptuous of the Eucharist? Do I feel entitled to the Eucharist? Do I understand that I can worthily and properly assist at Mass without receiving the Eucharist, so that I don't have to receive the Eucharist to make it worth my while to be at Mass? Am I aware of these things? Do I look at the Eucharist as the one to whom I owe everything, and not look at the Eucharist as the one who owes me anything? right? And therefore, then, do I approach the Eucharist having truly and deeply and significantly examined my conscience in preparation of Mass, and even during Mass in preparation of coming to the decision of whether or not I will receive Holy Communion at this particular Mass. We don't have to be some great sinner to say, I'm not going to receive communion today. Right? And we're not failing in some Christian duty to not receive communion every day, right? We don't even have to receive communion every week. Like we have to receive communion so little that the church actually says you need to receive it at least once. Ask yourself the quote: why does the church say you have to receive communion at least once, and it doesn't say you must not receive communion more than? Well, I guess it does say you can't receive communion more than 3 times in a day, or more than 2 times in a day. But it actually says you must receive it at least once. The presumption of the church is that you're not receiving communion very often, right? I mean, that's the presumption of the church. Because it takes a lot to prepare ourselves adequately and to worthily receive Holy Communion. Now, I'm not saying this to suggest that anybody here has been doing anything wrong. I'm saying this to get everyone here, including myself, to consider the way that we think of the Eucharist, the way we relate to the Eucharist, and the disposition and preparation of that disposition by which we receive the Eucharist. We do not ever want to receive the Eucharist as Judas, but rather as Peter, as a weak man, as a man who is. I mean, we know Peter's many sins. They're written, like Matthew and John took great care to make sure that all of Peter's sins were in here. Mark, not so much. Do you know why? Because Mark is actually Peter's gospel, right? Mark wrote the gospel with Peter, right? So that's kind of understood to be Peter's gospel. Mark is. All the other ones are very clear, though, about all of Peter's sins and failings, right? So we know them. And yet he was able to receive Holy Eucharist, and it fulfilled Jesus' desire for Peter, which was, the devil has sought to sift you all, but but I have prayed for you, Peter, that your faith may not fail. And when you have returned, when you have been healed, go back and heal your brothers. Go back and lift up your brothers and make them whole. Support the brothers. Bring them back, right? Peter's by no means, in this instance, the saint that we all sort of galvanize or gild him in our minds to be. He's a regular, rough, rugged guy who's trying to figure out whether he should cut off the ear of the priest's servant, or whether he should, be just humble and meek. Like, he's trying to figure all this stuff out, just like you and me, right? And in the mess of that, he's able to sit with the Lord at supper and to receive Holy Eucharist in a way that fortifies him, right? Because in this moment, Peter has nothing but affection and love for the Lord. He has nothing but bravios, boisterous claims. Lord, I'll do all this stuff for you, right? All the stuff that we say in our hearts and in our minds occasionally. Lord, I want to do so much for you. I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to do that thing for you. Jesus knows he's going to fail. He prophesies it. Before the cock crows, you're going to deny me 3 times. 3 times, Peter. But that's okay. I love you. And I know right now you love me. And that's where we have to be when we receive Holy Eucharist, right? We have to be reconciled with the Lord if we've done anything against him. Judas needed to say, I'm sorry to the Lord before he received Holy Eucharist. And had he done that, we certainly would not have had the devil enter him, and he might not have followed through on the even greater sin of handing Jesus over. So, here at this Last Supper, we see these 2 iconic men, right? One with a disposition towards the Lord, and one with a disposition against the Lord as they receive Holy Eucharist. And Jesus, through the gospel here, makes it very clear that it is no small matter to receive his body, blood, soul, and divinity in the Holy Eucharist. And as we sort of approach Holy Thursday, where we celebrate the institution of that Holy Eucharist, let's spend these next couple of days really distilling our understanding of the Eucharist and who we want to be in relation to that most blessed sacrament.